Hi everyone, I'm Sue. Welcome to Witchcraft Sewing. If you're new to my channel, guess what? So am I. Okay, so this is the first video. Y'all asked me to show you how to do a shift, chemise, the underdress, nightgown thing. There are plenty of videos on YouTube on how to do this. Uh, but y'all asked for me to show you how I like to do it and to teach you how to sew at the same time. So that's what we're going to do. To begin with, I've got my fabric back here laid out, already started to do the markings. I'm going to show you that here in a bit. Um, but there's only 2 stitches we're going to use for this entire project, and I'm going to show those to you really quick. The first one, I just have this little sample here. You obviously can't see that too much quick. Anyway, the first one is just a simple back stitch. You just go in through your fabric. I'll do an up close of this so that you can see it. And then you go back right where you came from. It's a simple back stitch. You just go back and forward until you get her done. The other one is a felling stitch or a hemming stitch, and I will show you the process of that as well up close. There's just the 2 stitches. That's it. It's a simple, easy project. It will take a couple of days by hand, depending on how much time you spend. You can sit there in the evening while you're watching your TV and do it just fine. So this is what the little back stitch looks like. If I can even find my freaking camera. There it is. Oh, hey, looky there. Okay, so without any further ado, we are going to get going on what we need to do in order to cut this out. When it comes down to it, after all is said and done, you will have 2 little sets of gussets. There's 2 each there. You will have 2 little gores. You will have 2 sleeves and a front and back. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. 5 sets of pieces. That's it. You're going to end up with a nightgown. Let's go have some fun, shall we? Okay, here we go. I think you can see me okay. We're going to get started on making the chemise. Now, there are just a couple measurements you're going to need, so get a little paper and pencil. I've got mine written down already. The first measurement we're going to need is around our shoulders so that we know how wide to make it. Now, most people would just take their widest bust measurement here. You can. It's not going to pitch properly. What you want to do is you want to actually go around the back of your shoulders like this, making sure your tape measure is even and flat and stuff back there. And then you want to just come right around to the front. Now, for me, that's 50 inches. So what you're going to do is you're going to want half that measurement because you're only doing front and back. So what you'll do is you take that 25, you'll lay it down in your fabric. You'll go over 25 and you'll put a pin in there, or you'll make a chalk mark. I like doing both. I'll put the pins in first, and that way I have a good straight line to follow. So then you just go up every 3-4 inches down your fabric, putting your pins in till you get to the end. You're going to need 2 of those at that measurement. Like I say, 1 for the front, 1 for the back. Now the length, that's going to vary. That's going to vary on what you want. Do you want it just to come to your hips and waist? Measure to your hips and waist. You end up with something more of a shirt or a little tunic. You want it to go down longer? That's how far you're going to measure down. Now, most fabric is 44, 45 inches wide, which means if you use the full width of the fabric, you're going to end up with a chemise that's somewhere around knee length. And if that's fine for you and that's comfortable for you, use the full width of the fabric. This fabric for me is 60 inches wide, and that goes down pretty much to my ankles just about. And for this project that I'm using this for, that's just the perfect length. I need this to be a longer one. It's going underneath another gown. So for historical I need it at that length. Okay, so now what I've done is I've pinned all the way up. I will now take my straight edge, or you can use your measuring tape as well. And then the marking pen, chalk, whatnot of your choice. I'm using Taylor's chalk. And just go right down along those to give yourself, this is going to be your cutting line. Now the other thing I like to do is I will use one piece of chalk for my cutting line, and then I will use another piece of chalk for my seam line. That way I know which one is which. There we go. So now I have my front and back panels cut. Or not cut, but at least measured. Okay, so then what I'm going to do, now I have these pinned down to my board here. That's the wonder of these boards, is you can actually make sure that it stays put. I will go ahead and cut along these lines that I have previously drawn, because I want to be able to put this back on my board so that I can cut my sleeves. The little square gores, now the gores that go underneath the arms. Most people that I have seen online, and there's all kinds of videos on how to make one of these online. There truly is. This is no different from those, except for in one aspect. I find most people call for a 4-inch square to be used under the arms for the underarm gores. And that is fine and dandy. And they have you put it in as a square, which is fine and dandy. But it can get confusing as all get out. So I find the easiest way to do that instead, so I don't have confusion, is to, one, make the squares slightly bigger, and then cut them on the diagonal so that I have 4 triangles. That way I can add those directly to the sides of the sleeves, and then when I put the sleeves on to the body, it's all in one. You don't mess it up, and then you just have one seam down the side all the way through here that you have to sew in order to put it together. Much easier than having to try and figure out how to inset a square that actually goes in as a diamond. I just as soon put in some triangles and call it good. And I'm sure you would too. So that's what we're gonna do. And that's how I do mine, because, you know, let's keep it simple and still have it turn out just as nice. I don't think anybody's truly going to fault me for that. If they do, well, that's on them. So there are our fronts and backs. And they do have pins down one side of them, at least one side. So be careful that you don't poke yourself. And I'm just going to set those over here. And when I get these all cut out, then I will show you how it's all laid out. But next, what we need to do is we need to come down here, and we're going to do our sleeves. We're going to do our sleeves. That is the other measurements that we need. And for that, once again, I've already got mine marked out, but I will let you know how to do that. You will take your tape measure, and you will go around your arm's eye, that's what this area is called, to just where, well, on your shirt, pretty much where your seam would be naturally, okay? And that measurement, at least on me, is a 21. We'll say 20, because remember, we're putting that gore in there. So that's 20, so you need it to be at least 21. And then, on top of that, you got to decide how long you want it. So we'll say 21 and a half because of seam allowance, because we must add seam allowance, at least for the sleeves. Then, starting at the top of your shoulder, just drape it down to about wrist length and see how long you want. Some people don't want sleeves. Some want them half sleeves. For this one, I'm doing a full sleeve, so this is going to end up being right about, I want it slightly longer, about 25 inches. So it's going to be 25 inches long. I know this fabric is 30 wide, so that's plenty wide. And then I know it needs to be 21. Well, it needs to be 21 across. So there's my 21 mark. And then it needs to be 25 down. Now the extra in here is fine because that's going to end up getting used for the underarm gores that we're going to turn into triangles. So we go up to 21. Make our marks. All right. So there's the 21 across, but now we need it 25 long, and we know that this is 30. So we need to come up here, take the edge of our fabric to 25. For this, I'm just going to use my chalk. And I'm just going to make some marks across here at the 25. Just to show you can do it either way. Then take my straight edge. Mark my line. I will then cut that. This creates our 2 sleeves. Now with this extra piece, remember we need those 2 squares. Those will come out of this. Move the pin here. Open that up. Alrighty. Now that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See? And it's just at 5.5 inches, which is just what we need. So then we measure our 5.5 inches the other way. So we've got our square. We mark that. Now, these are the squares I was saying that go underneath the arms. They go up underneath there. And what I am going to do, because it is so much easier than dealing with the squares, and this is also why we cut them bigger. So we're going to go right across those corner to corner.